Womp, bom, balloon, bom, 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 to the boot, oh, root, to the boot, oh, root.
Little Richard, 81 years old today. That's crazy.
Hey, it's my fellow birthday boy, Little Richard. So 790-2040 is the phone number. So again, as Joe said, we can do it all today. We can have Terry singing for us. We can have Dean from Gerson's here. We can cover Barack. We can cover great trips to Nogales, Mexico coming up. About almost 50 folks going down with Chris and Joe. Is coming. I mean, it's like an all-star trip going down Nogales.
We're going to go spa. We're going to
laser tag.
We're going to do it all.
Laser tag. I did a laser tag.
Yeah.
Welcome to our first of all, our good friend Martha Gonzalez. Hi, Martha. How are you? Hold it. Let's do it one more. There we go. And then we have Rachel. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Hello.
And then we have Rachel's husband, Todd. Hi, Todd.
Morning, Tucson.
And then we have a guy who just came in here named Dave. So, hi, Dave. How are you?
Hey, good morning.
Welcome aboard.
Dave's not here, man.
Thank you very much.
Had to do it.
So let's start out. Joe, why don't you start
Let me set
us
up
off?
Common Core a little bit. So Common Core is the latest amalgamation of the federal government trying to kind of say, how do we increase or get better with our education?
And as we know, they do everything else so great.
So we had No Child Left Behind. Race to the Top was Obama's original thing with Arnie Duncan. So here's a little op-ed, little couple quick sentences. Like Obamacare, Common Core was forced onto the public as a naked federal takeover. Common Core usurps state and local governments based on the dubious idea that the local rubes can't be trusted to understand and meet the standards of their own children. Common Core is developed without state legislatures' involvement or authority, without a curriculum or content specialist, and it was never voted on by anybody. Instead, it began with the Progressive Education Insiders, Washington, D.C., developed by Achieve, Inc., a group of progressive education reformers, and shaped by commercial vendors NCS Pearson, and funded primarily by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and multiple other foundations. So that's kind of one way to look at it. Selena Fagan, who was our superintendent at TUSD, went over to Colorado. They have rejected Common Core, and they've said, look, we're not going down this road of federal discussion.
She's doing national interviews on how good they're doing up in Colorado right now.
The Iowan Republican, I just found this morning, Governor Brownstad, executive order rejected federal Common Core in the state of Iowa. So it's kind of this debate of it's coming, and the feds are saying you got a bunch of money and little strings attached to it.
I was going to say, how are they?
Yeah, they're
how are they incentivizing or forcing?
It's implemented primarily through billions of dollars in federal bribes because states had to accede to it or to receive Race for the Top grants, that kind of thing. So there's money strings to it. Very similar to Medicaid. Like if you do it, we give you the money. If you don't, you don't get it. So one of the biggest challenges, and this is these folks have a little issue with, is Amphi School District, which is in our backyard, has kind of jumped in both feet without a lot of discussion. And a lot of the parents came together and said, look, this is moving too fast. Some of the textbooks aren't working for us, and it's just not a good fit. Slow down, and let's have a discussion about it. Would you say that's sort of a good starting point?
Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. Amphi School District, with these new Common Core standards that have been adopted, as Joe said, without any legislation. It was signed in as an executive order by Jan Brewer. The issue was that Amphi School District decided to completely replace all the math and the English curriculum as well across the board to a curriculum that they say had the stamp of approval for Common Core. Now, the issue is the pedagogy is so different from anything that we have ever seen in a traditional classroom.
And it's not memory, it's not rote, it's
this whole think, pair, share discovery method, which can work in a limited capacity, but what we're seeing is it replacing traditional teaching, specifically in math, where they're not actually, learning the formulas. They're not learning the language of math. They're not learning the application.
So
they're
Rachel,
learning abstract ideas.
Explain
Yes.
think, pair, share for the folks.
So it's an idea where the teacher would sort of, now I'm not completely well versed in this, but my understanding is that the teacher sort of presents an idea. The students are then paired up, and they themselves are sharing and discussing this.
Isn't math pretty linear? A plus
Exactly.
B equals C.
It is.
Hold on, I haven't found out much more about this, but so far, kind of dumb. But keep going. All right, sorry. We're gonna go.
Well,
I mean,
so
you're hooked to the group.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously,
group project
this idea,
all the time.
especially in high school. we have high school
I get the
kids.
kid that eats paste.
Exactly, right? It's hard to focus in kids. It's hard to get them to. So, the issue is, and the book itself that we, this as how my husband and I got involved is, we took the book, and my husband is an engineer, and he came out of our bedroom 2 hours later and said, Are you kidding me?
This is what you do in your bedroom is read math books.
God, we got to talk.
Isn't that a different show?
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'll stay for your after hours.
But you mentioned you were even, Martha, you were trying to help your kids with their math, and there wasn't books coming home, or you couldn't.
Well, my son's in sports, right? So he missed a day because he's off, swimming. So he gets home, he doesn't understand a problem, and I said, well, let me help you. I'm not that bad with math, so I look at this problem, and I'm like, well, give me your book. He gives me his book. He's like, but Mom, we don't use it. I'm like, well, why don't you use it? Because it's a really bad book. And I'm like, but something has to correlate, so I open it up, and I'm trying to go through a problem. They never finish a problem in the book. So I'm like, okay, how do I do this? Couldn't get it. Then I'm like, okay, give me an odd number so I can look at the back, make sure that I'm doing them right. There's no answers in the back on odds or evens, so you don't have no clue if you're right or wrong. Mm-hmm. So then I'm getting really frustrated. I call my sister. She's at the U of A, straight A student. Give her the problem. She can't figure it out. We call my dad. He's a chemical engineer. He can't figure it out. So I'm going like, okay, there's something definitely wrong.
We're talking
here.
sophomore math here, right?
So obviously he couldn't get through his work. He had no clue what was going on. He has a great teacher. His teacher needs to use worksheets and things to teach the kids because the book just doesn't help you.
Right.
Now, that's just the way that his teacher does it, which I think is great. So we can't get through it. Next day he goes to school and I tell him, ask your teacher to do this. Well, guess what? The problem is wrong. There is no solution to the problem. Mm-hmm. So this book hasn't even been edited. The problems are wrong. So not only are you discovering this with your friends,
it's
because
not wrong
it's the
on
new
purpose, like some sort of CEO leadership summit class where you're like they do, see how long you work on it.
Guess how many
you give up.
the testing companies and the book companies have a lot of money in this stuff, and they make it linear from all different levels.
I guess the
of
question we
money
have to
flow
find out is
everything.
how much does Amphi get in relation to money out of being one of these kind of like guinea pigs, and then how much did Jan Brewer?
Well,
if
Huppenthal is basically playing at Switzerland. He's saying, it's coming, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, and kind of floating around, right? He's not coming out one way or the
He's
other.
telling the school districts, he's saying buyer beware, which is the exact opposite of what Amphi did. Amphi went out and decided to spend $2 million, according to an article in the Arizona Daily Star that interviewed Monica Nelson, and she said we spent $2 million on these new textbooks.
Chihuahua.
Yeah. And so, we formed a coalition. We are calling it the Arizona Coalition for Student Excellence, www.acse.us, and we have a Facebook page as well. And we formed this coalition because really what we were seeing was this administrative decision was made without the input of the community, parents whose involvement is, I'm sure, as you would agree, completely critical to student success.
Especially with open enrollment and charter schools and bases.
A lot of the involved parents chose this school. And I, for one, am coming from a private education background to the kids. And I'm sorry, my kids were privately educated, but
they were at St. Elizabeth's, and then
they were at St.
Ironwood,
Elizabeth,
right?
and now we're at Ironwood, correct? But
how were they prepared? Were they ready for it? Were they above and beyond, close?
They were above and beyond. The school, the St. Elizabeth Ann Seton School, does well prepare the children, and they were.
So, Chris, you took your kids from the Amphi district over to bases,
right?
So, how'd that process from one to the next?
I would tell you that one of the big sparks was my son's 8th grade math experience at Wilson Middle School, which is an Amphi A-rated school, and I just saw a lot of sleepwalking going on over there, a lot of wasted time, and then the teacher, who was quite frankly a numbnut, says to me, well, it doesn't really matter what we do this year because Common Core is coming and everything we do doesn't mean anything. And I said, couldn't the kid play basketball during your math period and at least get some exercise?
Not what you want to hear as an engaged parent.
So I've moved both my kids into basis, and it's a different world and different criteria and different entry kind of things. I get it. Right. But what's interesting is usually, we've learned, we talk about this crap 4.5 years now. When they want to introduce something, they at least do some sort of fake forum where they want your input, and they get you some cookies from Fry's and some punch, and didn't seem to have that going on.
The books were on display for 60 days at the school board room,
which is on Wetmore.
Correct.
How are the teachers embracing this? Is this
They are not. We are a coalition of teachers and parents. In fact, they were the ones that were up in arms. Now the administration is saying teachers love it. Teachers are saying to us, we don't love it. We don't want it. So obviously,
where's the teachers union on this?
That's a good question, and I don't know the answer.
So there's
to
a
that.
show on Saturdays on this station I've listened to, and it's about teachers' unions, and it's teacher-led, and they really went on about the role of testing, and should testing be a part of the academic, should you be teaching to a test?
Right.
Which is a big debate. Somehow you got to measure everybody, but who's making money and how's it being taught? Is it individual freedom in the classroom? That kind of thing.
We got to go pay bills. It's 7:47 in the morning. We got another segment to go. If you want to get in on the conversation, 790-2040. If you're a parent who has a child who is now currently under this Common Core stuff, pay attention and keep your ears and eyes open. ACSE.us is where you want to go to find out more about this.
They're from the federal government, and they're here to help, Chris. Shouldn't that what we learned here? Isn't that how this works?
You remember what those bastards did to E.T. in the movie? Same stuff. Wake Up Tucson, 1030 The Voice.
This is Bill Buckmaster, Tucson City Councilwoman Regina Romero, Thursday at noon on KVOI AM 1030, Tucson's intelligent voice.
Southern Arizona is waking up to local talk that matters. Wake Up Tucson, mornings with Chris and Joe on AM 1030 KVOI, the voice.
All right, we're covering Common Core here on the Wake Up Tucson show. Before we get to your phone calls, let's go to Amphi parent Dave here. He wants to tell a little story about his child's experience. David, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning. Yes, I had one child that went through Ironwood and did very well up in calculus now at U of A, but my sophomore missed a day of school, so I went back. I'm straight A's in math, and so senior engineer. So opened up this book, and it's this, in my opinion, this Carnegie textbook is garbage. It's worthless. It only started one problem. It didn't finish. It asked her 10 more questions. It gave one little theorem, and then she had 10 problems to do. That's not acceptable.
Yes.
And so as I've talked to other parents, I had them open it up. He said, it's gobbledygook. I had another parent was helping him with just worksheets at home. Well, I said, well, go look at the book. So they were over Thanksgiving, open up the book. He says, this is incredible. This is appalling, this book. And the thing that hurts is if you destroy a kid in Algebra 2, or say algebra, when are they going to catch up?
Cool, sure. That's the problem with public
switched
schools.
to poli-sci like I did.
Thank you
I'm
very
stuck
much.
with you every morning.
Yes. 7 years, Tommy boy. That's called the doctor.
Right.
790-2040. Before we get to the calls, now remember, there's a big meeting, Amphi School Board meeting. It's on December 10th.
Correct.
And it's at what time does this thing start? Is it 6?
6 o'clock is the open time, and there is going to be on the agenda a presentation by the superintendent to the school board about this math curriculum.
Has the school board weighed in on this yet?
Not that we have heard. We all spoke as a coalition at the last school board meeting during the public forum, which, as you know, they are not allowed to respond. We did meet then with a superintendent and assistant superintendent asked to be on the agenda. So this next board meeting, obviously, if you are a concerned parent, we would really appreciate showing up, because not only are you going to learn more about it, but hopefully we can hear what the school board thinks about all
And
this
again,
as well.
open enrollment, charter schools, these are
Absolutely.
chipping away. Each student in a seat is $7,000 to $9,000.
Right, and there are choices, especially on the northwest side, like
Yeah.
you said. There are several private schools, there are charter schools,
Yeah.
and they are doing a fantastic job educating our kids, so there is competition for those kids.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, we open enroll, and the reason we open enroll is because they have great high schools in Amphi. So what I don't understand is if we have something that's doing really good, why are you changing it? They say, oh, we're changing it because of Common Core, and it's something that's coming up the ranks. And, obviously, if you look at all the paper, what
Yeah.
you said, it's because there's money involved.
I just got a tweet from Arnie Duncan. He said, it's money. We're
It's
giving you
money.
money, man.
Yeah.
Switch to my
Exactly.
books and I give you money.
Follow the money, we used to say in the old
Follow
movies.
the money. We'll
so
see what
important.
happens.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is why are we changing something that didn't need to be changed? Common Core is just a set of standards. So if we have those standards, why are we changing? Why are we changing to these books? And if Common Core was so great, why did our governor have to rebrand it and not name it something else? Is
Well-
it just so that we don't
Right. Right.
look
Get
at the
stink
hostility?
off, right.
It's like, oh yeah, it's like, oh, we have now
790-2040. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Tom on line 3. Tom, you're on with Chris and Joe and 18,000 parents. What's going on, Tom?
Hey, thank you so much. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thanks for calling.
And I just wanted to share this with you about what was said regarding the textbook. The methodology is think, pair, share. That methodology will accompany any new textbook, regardless of whether or not it's Carnegie or one by Holt. And the reason is that the Common Core math standards are now basically focusing on learning how to model and illustrate. That is the old linear methodology of learning kind of the formulas and simply doing the application. That is not a part of Common Core. I was told this by one of the principals that I spoke to in the Amphi District, and he told me that the new Park assessment tests, as well as eventually the SAT tests, will actually be testing students' ability to think about math and be able to model and illustrate it. I asked what that meant, and what they said is basically it's to be able to understand the mathematical theories behind the computations.
What grades are we talking here on this, Tom?
Exactly. That's what I said.
Yeah.
I said, well, is this appropriate for kids in 5th and 6th grade, which is where it's actually being taught, which was where we see a lot of struggles? The person who I spoke with said they weren't really sure. They didn't know. But this was being mandated by the district. The other thing I wanted to point out is, as I've been learning more about this, I want to clear up kind of this, what I think is a misconception. None of this is being forced on the states. Weak governors are basically ponying up to the trough.
It's like Medicaid expansion.
Yeah.
Legislatures have not done their jobs in funding education. We have been behind the 8 ball for the last couple of years, underfunding education, and so we have given our elected representatives a pass.
We've also given our local elected representatives, the school boards,
exactly.
They've been getting a
And so
huge pass on a lot of this
we
stuff.
have been accused of being overeducated parents who will go away from this issue eventually when we get bored and tired. My response is we're tired of being led around by well-intentioned but undereducated elected officials.
That's this whole county.
So we have, the board is elected, and they hire people, and those people's jobs, they should know are at risk.
Hey, Tom, I have a
There
question
is-
for you. How do you feel about 2 times 3 plus 4?
Well,
Theoretically.
the way I feel about it is that it depends on whether or not the conversation is being conducted with a dog or a cat.
Right.
Thank you
And
very
that
much.
might actually
Or
change
Saeed
the
or
answer.
Dick and Jane, right?
So,
Dick and Jane.
Right.
well,
But,
can't
one
say
other thing
Dick
I
in
would
these
say
things anymore. Sorry.
There's a 2014 override being asked. The last override in Amphi only passed by 40 votes.
Yep.
We should be aware of this because they're going to be asking for more money. And we paid $2 million for these textbooks. I have asked for copies of the contracts, and I have been told that those documents are in a file in a warehouse, and they can't locate them right now.
It's
but they
next
will
to
be
the Ark of the
back in
Covenant.
It's called the Freedom of Information Act. You should be able to have access to that.
Yes, so these are just some of the crazy things that are going on right now. But I just wanted to clarify that it doesn't matter what textbooks are being chosen.
Tommy, I got to get
There's
going,
full
my friend.
methodology there.
Good point.
Thank you so much.
Great
you.
phone call. Remember, go to acse.us to find out more. There is a meeting going on December 10th. It starts at 6 o'clock.
Right.
I don't know where it's on the agenda, but show up. Don't go for the first 10 minutes. They're usually pretty boring. So about 6. And there's going to be 45 minutes supposedly devoted to this. And if they get a show of humanity to say, hey, we're a little ticked off about this, it'll make an impact. If you can't make it to the meeting, you got to go to the Amphi School District website and find that has the email addresses of all the school board members. Pound them with emails. Oh, they really hate written letters, and if you call them and actually talk to them, they really hate that. So do those 3 things: email, call, and writing a letter means you're really serious. We actually had to mail it. So that's what you want to do. We're running out of time. Everyone, thanks for your advocacy for the kids on this one.
Thank you, Chris.
I know it started with your own kids, but it's something where it's affecting a lot of people out there. And there's
Chris, the market will decide. We have choices, and that's what it comes down to. Either respond, like back to the point of the override bond fund. You're not going to get your bonds if you don't respond to the listeners and the voters.
So everyone, have a great day tomorrow. It's St. Nicholas Day, Food Friday. We're going to have our El Medendetto guys coming in tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, amigo. I appreciate it. Ed, thanks for all that you do, my friend.
Happy birthday to you.
I
Man.
appreciate
Have a great
that.
day.
And remember, 48 hours, we're going to be heading towards Nogales, Mexico. So enjoy being miserable out here. So wake up, Tucson, 10:30 The Voice.
Always look on the light side of life. This is Dennis Miller. Stay tuned for more intelligent talk on AM 1030, KVOI, Cortero, Tucson, The Voice.